Radio Tandem presenta INDIEBAR.
Ovviamente bisognava cominciare con qualcosa di strano, questo fischio che è arrivato fortissimo e questo feedback che abbiamo creato. Ebbene, eccoci qui con la puntata numero 13 della stagione 15 di INDIEBAR Plays Live. Oggi abbiamo veramente una grossa sorpresa per i nostri ascoltatori tradizionali. Abbiamo per la prima volta un ospite internazionale, quindi attraverseremo l'Oceano Atlantico e poi tutto il continente americano fino ad arrivare alla costa pacifica ed arriveremo fino a San Francisco con questo grandissimo personaggio che ci ha fatto veramente l'onore di essere qui con noi. Vediamo un po' Marco che ci racconta tra l'altro come l'ha trovato e come siamo arrivati a questo proprio oggi. Vai Marco. Non ti si sente, sei su mute.
Ecco, sono di nuovo qua. Un caro saluto a tutti quanti. È stata una settimana molto... No, ci sono. Beh.
Prova a parlare.
Ci siamo?
Non funziona. E questa è la diretta.
Ora mi senti, dai, ora.
Sei andato via un secondo fa, funzionava tutto
mi
e
senti
adesso
ora?
non funziona più.
Mi senti
va
ora?
bene.
Mi senti
non
ora?
Non ti sentiamo. Io mando ancora un po' di sigla così tu intanto metti a posto, eh.
Ora, dai. Mi senti ora? Mi senti ora?
Vediamo un po' se adesso funziona.
Mi senti ora?
No, non ti sentiamo. Ancora non ti sentiamo. Io non ti sento. Non ho toccato nulla. Non sentiamo Marco. E vabbè, pazienza ragazzi, questo è quello che... No, Anna dice che ti sentiamo.
Allora, vai, ci sono, dai.
Sono io che non lo sento. Prova?
Ci sentiamo ora?
Scusate, siamo veramente dei disperati.
Ma mi stai sentendo?
Anna allora, quindi voi la sentite, sono io che non la sento. Non so che cosa fare. Vabbè, parla, vediamo un po'. Tu parla, io introduci James e io intanto vedo come fare.
Allora, è stata una settimana molto divertente e il divertimento arriverà ancora oggi perché abbiamo un ospite internazionale. Abbiamo imparato a distinguere le zone temporali, lo spazio-tempo, perché ci siamo collegati con la California e sono un po' di ore in là. Ora qua sono le 8 di sera quasi, lì sono le 10-11 di mattina. Per cui iniziamo subito. Dopo queste tragedie abbiamo fatto un test di qualche ora, abbiamo un ospite eccezionale e ora iniziamo pure a parlare in inglese, se non ci capisce più nessuno. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you the very great James Bisley from San Francisco, California. James, say something.
How's it going? Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. It's amazing.
So basically, I have a good idea. We will start immediately with a video from James, so all the world will know what we are talking about. And I guess I will show this video, and Bruno will try to solve the problem we had. The title is Attraction from James Bisley. Check this out, please.
It's crash and burn, no return. Never mind, I never learned. Driving blind, collapse the sky. No petty crime. It's you and I. Are we now at the final attraction? Are we now at the final attraction? from. Death or glories, breaking stories of money talks. The clock is turning, kicking the door. The bed is burning, slept through the war. A moment passed, lost at last. With the truth, I'll never grasp. Are we now at the final attraction? Are we now at the final attraction? Are we now at the final attraction? Are we now at the final attraction?
So, James, it was a pretty strange situation because we did not hear Bruno. However, I will tell the people I met you on Instagram, just you liking a post of me about the Spaceman tree, I guess, and just answered your post. And after that, I checked out your music. I liked it a lot. But basically, tell the people in Europe, please, where are you right now? You had a new record out, it came out in November. And tell us a few words about you, please.
Oh, thanks. Well, I live in San Francisco. I'm based in San Francisco. I've been part of the music scene here for a while. I played in a few bands. Started in Santa Cruz as the guitarist for the Cast Iron Canaries, which was a pop punk band. And I was one of the main songwriters for that. And then moved to San Francisco, and a few years later hooked up with a great indie electronica band called Return to Mono. And spent about a decade touring with them and recording albums. We have about 3 albums, and the latest one was just actually released around the same time as Illusionland. I always wanted to do my own album. I had some weak spots throughout the years that I wanted to work on, and I originally had ideas to bring a lot of different musicians in, friends of mine, to play on it. But then I kind of got inspired to learn drums and to learn some instruments that I hadn't learned before. See if I could do it myself. And so I ended up writing a bunch of songs. They just started flowing out of me all at once. So this album was recorded fairly quickly. It happened, I recorded before the pandemic. And I think a lot of it came out of me because, there was a lot of anxiety due to like the political situation in the United States. Things had gotten really weird, here. And, I didn't want to make a political album. I've always just wanted, music has always been an escape for me. But, if there's truth in what you're doing, whatever truth you have is a political statement nowadays, at least here, so yeah, so the floodgates just started opening, and I just I realized that I had a full album, pretty soon, and I just started working on it, got really passionate about it, and just started going with it, and so I was really pleased that I was able to do it. I'm really happy.
But tell us just one thing, please. I kept asking to myself, what does the title mean, Illusionland? What are you talking about? It's illusion is in your head. It's illusion. It's America. It's the U.S. What does it mean?
Well, I went through a period in my early stages, and it was happening like when I was in between being in bands where, you know, I struggled slightly with some bipolar issues, and I at the time I actually used Buddhism, you know, had like some Buddhist techniques to like, you know, get me back into the groove and get me back into like a new way of understanding myself and, you know, seeing myself. And what I was discovering was just uncovering a lot of illusions in myself that I had made, and I didn't know, you know, coming from development, coming from your childhood, coming from things, you know, you build up these assumptions that you have about life and about your place in the world and who you are and, you know, what the world is. And we don't really know if they're based on, you know, our experience, or they're based on something that we just subconsciously have gotten into us. So like Buddhism helped me to get through those, you know, and slowly one by one, you know, peel away to the roots. So I always, whenever I'm there's like a, you know, something that I'm faced with, or some sort of obstacle or problem or something that I'm faced with, I always, you know, instead of hitting it dead on, I like to go within and find it within myself, and try to understand it that way. And you know, with the political situation in the United States, like, was getting really really tough, you know, really partisan, and you know, people were getting really angry about this and getting really angry about that, and rightfully so in some cases. But like, I think it's like really important when that happens, you know, your first response should be to like back away and look inside, and you may, you know, develop some sort of empathy the thing that's, you know, bothering you.
James, I understood. Check this out. Bruno has solved his problems, at least he says so in the private chat. Just wanted to show you something you told me before, as we had a little chat before, just making a sound check. What didn't really work out since we had these problems. In the small chat, in the sound check, you told me you wanted to do something for your own, to make your music which is within you. You play with Return to Mono, which is a band touring US and Canada, but you said, this time I want to do my thing. For me, I already told you, the next song we want to hear is called Never Us. Has a lot of guitars, just like the psychedelic first. It's a repetition. John Ashton, it is a characteristic. You come from San Francisco, from that city come Grateful Dead, come Jefferson Airplane. So the psychedelia is in your covers, in the cover with your dog, with the many colors. I see psychedelia. In your videos, I see psychedelia. As I said, your videos, I thought this is a psychedelic movement, and I know now where it comes from. But Bruno, if you're please, I would be very pleased if you would play Never Us with those great guitar riffs now, please, and then we talk. Non ti si sente, non devi fare la canzone, non ti si sente di nuovo. Sei mutato qua sul video. Never Us. It works. Yeah. We hear it now.
Story ends the same. Lost here killing time. We black out everything. Words against my mind, like enemies inside, collapsing everything. It's always me, the distance of the dream, we are the background noise, the background noise, sacred vanity. Realities, we are the background noise. path behind her, map is in the fire. Silhouettes at play, led by a game of reason towards a new illusion. It's always you and me, the distance of the dream. We are the background noise, the background noise. Sacred vanity, fairy realities. We are the background noise, the background noise. The background story ends the same. Lost track in time. We black out every page. Keeping true to life. Inside a tragic portrait, the ghost of our horizon. It's always you and me, in the distance of the dream. We are the background noise, the background noise. Sacred vanity, big realities. We are the background noise, the background noise.
And this was my favorite song from this record, Never. Never Us. Bruno, how is it working your mic?
Also mine, also mine.
We make la ola in all the world.
Now, you know what? When we got this feedback before, it was the protection of the mixer itself. So that's why it takes a couple of minutes to reboot, or sort of like that. Anyway, you can hear me now. I was listening to this song all the time today during my skating session. Yeah, I was listening to it in repeat, so that was really great. I think, I don't know, if correct me if I'm wrong, but on the chorus, on the back of the voice, there's a sort of pattern of guitars, like it reminds me Slow Dive. Is that intentional or just by chance?
Oh, I love Slow Dive. Oh my God.
Really?
I saw them live. I got to see them live in Santa Cruz. Slow Dive, Ride, and Catherine Wheel, I think.
Wow.
It was
Great.
so good.
Great bands.
But yeah, I've been a longtime fan of Slow Dive.
Almost
I
Paradise.
love that. It kind of turned me on to like how you could really use the guitar to create these pulses that are dissonant, that have urgency and those things. This song was one of the last songs that I wrote for the album, and it was happening during there was a Black Lives Movement protests that were happening in San Francisco and around the U.S. it was like, yeah, it was kind of an intense time, you know, and I had this, you know, this notion of like, why does it take like a huge protest to get, you know, people to listen, you know, to get to like lawmakers to listen? Why does it have to be this far away? I go protest of protest, you know. People like how many, you know, how long does this have to go on, you know, until people listen? You know? It's kind of like, so this song is kind of like Never Us. The title was going to be It's Never Us, but I wanted to keep it a little bit more abstract. Like, but it's
James, just like one question. You
yeah.
made an AP, which is called, I'll show you, which is the Survivor Bliss.
Oh,
It's
yes.
4 songs with your dog on it in this blue, yellow, bright colors. Does it came out before the album or after the album?
That was just I was under the recommendation to release an EP of songs, just a selection of songs on the album first, to get me into the system for my distributor to get me into the system, and like that way, in case there was any quirks or anything wrong, it would give them some time to get in the system until I released the full album. But it's a nice little 4-song thing, and it's really cheap to buy. but actually, I should say,
it's great.
if anyone wants to buy the album, all the proceeds are going to Friends of Animal Care and Control, which is a local dog rescue. They do a lot of great work, spaying, neutering dogs, and finding home, health, and happiness for dogs in the community.
And where can we buy the album? Where?
For now, yeah, I know it's
Amazon, I saw. You can download the files, buy the files, yeah?
Yeah, Amazon, and there's a few other retailers. I'm gonna try and push it out on Google a little bit more to give people more choices, you know. But,
Okay, but don't forget to print a vinyl because
yeah, that's my dream. So I hope to release this on vinyl. I'm working on the follow-up album right now, and I think when that comes out, I'm gonna get vinyl for both of those. And by that time, hopefully, I'll be able to play these live and get them out, and and get them to people.
Yeah,
they can enjoy.
Yeah, we are all missing this. We are all missing this because it's really a big thing that is missing in our life to watch the concert live. And yeah,
Just to be in a room with people enjoying something amazing, something cool, and for your spirit, for everything, it really just really gets you through everything.
I was expecting bands and artists having more streaming events, but in fact, it's not so popular. I mean, I only see one of Ride. That will be one of the Charlatans in a couple of weeks or so. But I was expecting really bands trying to find another way to do it, selling the streaming, the streaming tickets for something like the one of Ride was something like $10, 10 euros. I mean, something really affordable for everyone. But then they've got problems while streaming, and there was another issue maybe. But I was expecting this more. Why it hasn't happened? I mean, why? If this were you, what would you choose to do in this case? You want to do concert on streaming if you're not allowed to listen to concert for the next year or so? Are you considering this or not? Sorry if I couldn't through.
Yeah, I know I am. I'm working towards it. Because I don't know if things are going to open the way that they were before here for the next year. And I definitely, I missed out on having a CD release party and
Yeah.
that stuff. But I think the thing is too is touring. It's even if in the United States it's state by state. So like for 1 week, you know, Nevada, you can play, you know, but then they might change it because there's a COVID outbreak, you know. So when you're trying to get your tour together as close as possible, it's like putting together a jigsaw puzzle, but the pieces are always moving. And,
yeah,
that can make it really tough, you know.
I think nobody can forecast what the future will be like, and we have to wait and see what happens. But
Bruno,
yes,
Bruno, excuse me, I can forecast what comes next now, because you invited James to tell us about the 3 records which changed his life. Last week, John Belpaese did it. 2 weeks ago, someone else. And now it's time, I guess, Bruno, excuse me if I interrupted you, to ask James about the 3 records which changed his life. James, which one is the first one?
Exactly. Start with the first one. Tell us why.
Why? It's
yes.
more important.
Well, you guys asked me originally, and I just, off the top of my head, I chose 3 albums that, you know, that changed my life in a musical direction. But then I was like, oh my God, like, no, there's been other albums, you know. So it was kind of hard. I thought about it for a second, but the first one is definitely easy. That's this baby.
Oh, wow.
Hendrix Band of Gypsies. I couldn't find it on vinyl. Yeah, so I got the CD version.
Don't worry. Don't worry, James. I have CDs already. Only Bruno has vinyls. Don't worry.
Okay.
We live in the future, you know. He's in the past. Yeah.
I got it. If you're ever in San Francisco, Amoeba Music, Amoeba on Haight, Amoeba in Berkeley. They've got everything.
But James, excuse me. Before we listen to the song, I give it over to Bruno. Brad Provis asks you, if you read the comments, is it more difficult to sing or to play guitar? What happened on Illusionland? Answer this question, please.
Oh, okay. All right, Brent. Yeah, you know, it's funny. Playing guitar is you know, comes second nature. I've been doing it since I was in 6th grade, and singing was something that I always like wrote songs. I wanted to sing. I had a little bit of like sort of like just like nervous issues about singing, and I was always in bands that had singers and that were really good. And they're way better than me, so I had to always have them sing. And eventually I just, you know, it took me about 5 or 6 years of just slowly getting back into it and developing my voice, and I realized I was doing everything wrong. And so you got to go back to the beginning and then do it and then learn. There's so many aspects to singing. It's very difficult to like to get to a point where you naturally can, you know, be a natural extension of like your emotion and, you know, tune into that. But now when I'm writing songs, like I don't even need a guitar with me. A lot of these songs on Illusionland like just came into my head, and I just write them down on, you know, these crazy pieces of paper, and I have them all over the house, and then I come back, and then the guitar melody is already in my head, like underneath the words. And that's how I like to write, because then things come at you like faster, you know, faster. So.
Oh, cazzo hai fatto?
It doesn't require a whole lot of, you know, technique, but I really enjoy. I actually learned to really enjoy singing and like pushing my voice in different ways. And you know, for the next album, I've got even like, you know, different techniques that, you know. I don't know if that answers the question, but yeah, it's for me. It's both one thing, you know, playing the guitar and singing. You know what I'm doing. It's all coming out of the same space and the same emotion and feeling, and you know, they're tuned in together.
Okay, I understand to sing is much more easy. You can sing and play guitar parts at the same time in your head. So it's a cool answer. Yeah. Let's get back to Hendrix. How did you discover him? When? It's a record from 1970. Please talk about it, and Bruno will play the song.
Oh, okay, great. So, yeah, when I was a kid, like I was in sixth grade, and I heard I got a hold of a boom box, and I was listening to the record station. I grew up in Sacramento. I was a record station called KZAP, and I heard a rock song. I think it was like uh, Led Zeppelin or Black Sabbath, and I thought like, wow, that is so cool. Oh my God, it sounds so amazing. Like that's what I want to do. I want to do that. And I begged my parents for a guitar, and so I had a cousin who was a professional musician, and he played a lot in Las Vegas, and so they asked him, and he's like, oh, Jim's into guitar. Is like, oh, this is the album that he needs to start on, the Jimi Hendrix Band of Gypsies album, because it's a live album, and it sounds amazing, and it's gonna blow him away. And so for Christmas, I opened up my Christmas present, and like 11 years old, and it was this like crazy album, and I just like ran into my room and started playing it, and I was like, holy shit! Like I'd never heard anything like it, and
So it was mind blowing for you, mind blowing, really.
oh yeah, I just was like, oh my God, I've got a guitar, but it doesn't sound like that. How do I make those sound? This is crazy.
You wanted your guitar sounding like this one of
Yeah.
Jim.
So
right?
I was super lucky because a friend of the family was going to give me guitar lessons, and he played weddings, and his name was Tim Zaccario. And he said, you know what, like I've got this huge amp, and my wife, I don't have a lot of space for it, like, so how about I keep it at your house and you can use it, and when I have gigs I'll just come and get it. So I was like, yeah, that'd be great. So because I was just plugging into my stereo and like blowing the speakers out, to get the fuzz and the distortion. So actually the amp was a Fender Super Vibrato, I believe, which is like the same amps that Hendrix was using on this.
Okay.
So I had this huge amp, and I was just this little kid. Got a hold of a wah-wah pedal, and that was sort of the beginning, making those sounds and like getting sort of the feel of the wah, and and technically these things just start from making sounds, and then it grew into like me actually like kind of copying the riffs and learning the riffs, and then after spending a lot of time on that, going into other songs like things that I was being exposed to, like punk bands like Suicidal Tendencies, and other things where I would hear were pretty easy. Like I could play those like like stiffer rhythms, but then still just let the guitar do this thing. But the thing with this album is that every note sounds like it's coming from his central nervous system. It's like an electricity is just coming through him like lightning into the guitar, and it's just it's crying, it's screaming, it's wailing, it's like being quiet, like it comes back out. There's nothing like it, and there's no one like Hendrix. And I mean, I love all of his albums, but this is like an oddball album because it's not his band The Experience, it was a one-off album. And sadly he died, pretty soon after this, so.
Yeah, age of 27. Do you want me to play the song Changes, and we listen that together?
Yeah, actually.
Only 2 seconds, because it's blocker system out there, but
This is a good one because Machine Gun would be the one, but it's like 12 minutes long. You guys know it's like way too long, but Changes has everything in it. I love it.
So let's listen to Changes, and then we go back to you. Block, but I agree with you. This is really amazing. But you have to know a story, because Marco has a code, and he don't listen to music which is older than punk. So basically, for him, the music with punk. So he will never buy a record of Jimi Hendrix as I do. Okay, so he don't knows what we are talking about.
It's called the Marco code, but you know something? The shoegazers use the wah-wah pedal completely different as Jimi Hendrix used it, you know? Just making this whoosh sound, and he make it just to make this small sounds, you know? That I find it really interesting. Talking about pedals, have you a favorite guitar pedal or distortion? Or what do you use? Can you tell me? I have a guitar too. I'm pretty curious always.
Yeah, you know what? For this album, I kept it really minimal, and I use a Rat.
Red distortion, yeah.
Okay.
And the reissues sound almost like they sound exactly like the old ones. Like they're made exactly, except you know the pots are maybe a little bit hotter. But there's been tests by professionals that can't tell a difference between the reissues and the old ones. So that's my favorite one because you can get to the fuzz. What's that one?
Big Muff.
Oh, I don't have that. That's a good
I was
one.
always curious about the Rat distortion, but just got this one.
Yeah, that's a good one. The Rat, I like the Rat because if I want to get more like really just like zero in and get like the, you know, some like, it's got a lot of drive in it, so it's got that volume. But for crazy like squealing stuff, like at the end of the song Sugar City, where I do all the crazy feedback.
Yeah.
That's this like Ibanez super metal pedal.
That's all cool. From Japan, yeah. Ibanez is a Japanese company. Really cool, yeah.
And it's got all these like knobs, so you can like kind of like EQ it and scale it in. But if you put it on after, it just does feedback, like just blind feedback. But you can control it, which is
that's cool.
Yeah. So if I want Hendrix stuff, it's a lot easier than just trying to pull the volume way up. I can do it at half volume and still like get like good feedback. You know.
Or blow your ears off, you know. Bruno, how many seconds do we have from the marvelous Jimi Hendrix?
1 minute 30.
No, he's great. Don't get me wrong. He's really great, you know. But I have this code, you know. I have to respect code. You have to have principles in your life.
No, it's amazing. I love Jimi Hendrix, and the Jimi Hendrix Experience album has been released 8 days after myself. So I was born 8 days after that, in 1967. It was the 12th of May, 9 days. It was the 12th of May of 1967. And my release date was the 3rd of May, 1967. I'm pretty old, I know.
But James, another question. You define your music as retro wave, proto punk, and indie pop. These words come from you, exactly?
Yeah.
Or some journalists, yeah.
No, it's from me.
It's you. Then retro wave, which I talked to you about New Order just at the sound check. You know, is that the 80s in England, America, or Devo? It's that wave you're talking about, or your references?
Yeah. You know, retro wave. There's a movement now to go back and remake like an 80s type sound, but with new. Make it new.
But wait a second. Bruno is blocking you. He just wants to tell something to the radio people, and then we get on.
No, it's just because we are. Sorry, that my phone is disturbing here. Now we are now live again on the radio, and that was Jimi Hendrix, and we've been talking about it offline with James. But James, this was the first record that changed your life, right?
Oh yeah.
But what about the second one?
The second one, it's funny. So I kept playing guitar, and I think my parents got a little, scared because I was like, I was always playing guitar. I wasn't going outside and playing with the kids. I was just like stuck, you know. I would come home after school and all I would do is do music. And I was hanging a lot out at the used record store because they had cheap cassettes and tapes. And I was like looking for some new music, and I went in there and I was like, "Ooh, David Bowie, Let's Dance!" Like I never owned that, you know. So like I brought it up to the counter, and the guy at the counter was like really cool, you know, and he'd kind of been watching me, you know, like what I've been looking at, you know, like I'd bought in the Ramones and Sex Pistols and the Clash, and so like I'm buying David Bowie, you know, Let's Dance, you know, and he's like, "You don't want to buy this." And I was like, "Yeah, I do." And he's like, "No, you want to buy this."
Ah, great.
Man who sold the world. And I was like, "Whoa, like, is that David Bowie?" You know? Like, and he's like, "Yes, man, this is like real David Bowie," you know? And so I was like, "Sure, okay," you know? It's like, you can buy them both, you know? But so I took this home, and it just like totally blew my mind. Like, and it came to me at a time where I was like, I think at that time I was starting to feel really alienated. You know, I definitely didn't fit in where I lived, and like music was like this escape. But you know, I had a few friends who understood, but like, you know, I always wondered if I was, you know, maybe like not mentally, you know, together. You know, you know, I couldn't figure out like why I felt the way I felt. Bowie, well, he was like the one who understood. He was like my therapist. I
Oh,
feel
really?
like, yeah, I feel like, you know, with especially his early albums, you know, songs like Life on Mars, which isn't on this one, but like, uh, that really made me feel like, oh my God, like not only does somebody get it, but like somebody is like, sees like these normal things, empathize with these things, and has this sort of cosmic relation, you know, to his music, where you really felt like he was like tuned into something really cosmic. And this David Bowie record is like, I think it's like the weirdest David Bowie record because it's really a collaboration. It was written by all the musicians on here, and he sang on it. And yeah, so like, especially, you know, when I was at a time when I was kind of going through my little Buddhist phase, and I think, you know, when I heard The Man Who Sold the World, and it's sort of like neo gypsy, you know, melodies and things, and then the ending that goes into almost like Tibetan chants, you know, that gave it this whole mystical thing. Like it almost, it's like a Beatles song that turns into like this like super cosmic, like religious, like mythology, you know.
Yeah. But how
Excuse me, James. I'm going to listen to this song, and I know it has even a Nirvana song on it. The record you're holding in your hands has even a Nirvana song on it. I swear, I heard it. Bruno, play it, please.
No, they did a great cover of it. They did a great cover of it. And it's hard because if you YouTube, you know, looking for The Man Who Sold the World, like more Nirvana comes up than David Bowie for some reason. But
yeah, it was a sort of a second life of this song after the Nirvana cover on the MTV Unplugged session, because most of the people, of the youngest generation, didn't know the original song of Bowie, and there was giving Bowie a sort of second life on that. So
Bruno, please start this song because I want to hear more James Beasley songs afterwards. Otherwise, we talk the whole night. Go on, please. Announce. Yeah.
We passed upon the stair. We spoke of was and when, although I wasn't there. He said I was his friend.
We have to be careful because of YouTube. Now we are offline, Marco. We are offline. We have to be careful because I always been, we have to be conscious because YouTube can block us for some reason. The big artists get easily blocked, so that's why we need to talk while on the radio. They will listen to the song. But I will show you one thing I did of myself.
I love it. I saw that. That's great.
That's a slip mat. Okay.
Nice. Oh, for records. Oh my God, that's so cool. I want one.
Okay, but he's a genius. I mean, he is a genius. But maybe Marco, you want one as well?
My main problem was all the time as I take contact with James per email. Please don't think I'm that other guy. I'm this one,
I love it.
Now Bruno is me, Marco is him. Okay, just to be clear.
Yeah, the individual.
Yeah, the one who talks about the vinyls and tell the silly stories about the vinyls, it's me. Okay. Marco, I don't think if he ever got a vinyl, maybe one of the U2 which went broken in the first day, and then that's it.
At the first spins, I bought a record, The Unforgettable 5 from U2, put it on the record player, and then nearly go straight to the center, scratching all the record. After that, I said, what's this shit? I don't buy records. They break up too fast. That's the story about records. But as we hear now, the man who sold the world, after that, we have the third song, which is much newer from this one. It's from the year 87. Did you play all the instruments on your record alone, yourself, on this last record, Illusionland?
Yeah, on this one. Yeah, it's on me.
It's all you. Great. Like Jay Maskey's.
Oh, yeah.
On the Dinosaur Jr. record. The first ones, at least.
Yeah, I mean, part of the time that it took me to, I really wanted to learn drums. I figured if I was going to record an album, I didn't want to use loops. I wanted to actually physically play them. So that took me about 5 years. Before I started writing it, I spent a lot of time just like learning drums. So I'm not the best drummer, but but I'm able to hold down, I think.
Okay, so the drum that we have been listening before in the Never Us song, that was you.
Yeah.
Great. Wow. Great. Congratulations.
In the future, I don't know, on this next album, I have a lot of friends who I played with in other bands and things that might...
Sorry if I interrupt you. We need to go back to the radio. Give me a second. And that was David Bowie with The Man Who Sold the World, a song which have got a second life after the cover of Nirvana. So, James, what about next? What's next? Or maybe Marco, what's next? Do you want James to tell us about the third record that changed his life, or do you want to listen to a song of him, which is maybe...
No, we have a lot of time. We're gonna ask James about the third record which changed his life, and this record is from the year 87, which means I could buy it officially without having any problem. Yeah, I know about it. I have the trilogy of this band, and please talk about the third record which changed your life.
Yeah, this is yeah, this was a big one for me. This is Sonic Youth Sister.
Wow.
See,
The
cool.
original cover. Um, the thing about this album was that well, I I discovered it, when I moved to Santa Cruz, and I was in a band, and we started we formed a kind of a pop punk band called the Cast Iron Canaries, and there was a scene in Santa Cruz that was happening that was well, let me just say that there was an earthquake in Santa Cruz that destroyed a lot of the downtown,
Oh, wow.
and so
When was that? When was that?
I think it was 1989
Oh,
or 1990. I think maybe it was. Yeah, and I don't know, 89. Anyway, it destroyed most of the downtown, and me and my friends who I was in band with, we lived in this tiny place that was right behind this warehouse that was one of the oldest used music and book warehouses in Santa Cruz, called Logos, and it was massive. And but it was kind of in shambles, but they could still operate out of it. So all the CDs and the tapes were really cheap. A lot of them were damaged, and things. And so somehow in this town, there was a very sense of community, because everybody really depended on each other, to keep afloat and stay alive. So things have moved into tents. And then as far as music, there was a ton of music and parties at people's houses, like music things popping up here and there, doing stuff at UCSF and everywhere they could, and literally dozens of bands, and so a lot of us were inspired by Sonic Youth, mainly the album Sister and Daydream Nation, which came after it, which is beautiful too, but that's a lot larger scope of an album. I like Sister because it's got probably all my favorite Sonic Youth songs in a smaller album, more compact album. And especially there's a lot of songs I hear that really connected to me. Um, like the songs Tough Gnarl, Cotton Crown, and Schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is a really cool song. It, there's a lot of different moods that are very subtle that come through, and it's very beautiful, and at the same time very dissonant, and the drums are really come in, and they really heavy, and it has all these elements that just I've never heard together in a song before, done in this way, in such in an alternate tuning, an alternate tones, a mixture of dissonant and beautiful, and it also showed me that the bass line and the melodies don't have to have a traditional link together. You can have these certain things that can create interesting sort of chords without having the bass always laid down on the bottom of what the guitar is doing. But anyway,
but that's excuse me, James, that's an interesting point. They have all these alternative tunings. I guess really Ronaldo has 20 guitars on tour, because every guitar has another tuning, and all the time people who play a little bit guitar ask themselves, how the hell did they do it, because there's so strange sounds, at the time. You couldn't take it out with your fingers, that's why revolutionary. That's correct,
copy it, which I tried to copy it so many times, and unless you know the actual tuning, it's impossible. And then there's two of them, and they might be in different tunings.
They're crazy, yeah.
And I got to see them a bunch of times, and wow, it was they were the ones that really, I felt like these were my band. They were just people I would love to be around, and I could really understand the way he, the way the lyrics were presented. It reminded me a lot of Velvet Underground and Lou Reed. How, they're issues that talks about, frankly, like like he's right there with you, and it caused a real connection. It was also they represented an underground. Like at that time, there was an underground and there was a mainstream, and they were like so uncompromising, but so good at what they did that they couldn't be ignored. And even though mainstream radio stations would refuse to play them, they were able to, garner a great record deal and bring up other musicians like Nirvana and like amazing musicians like My Bloody Valentine. There's so many musicians that wouldn't exist without Sonic Youth.
Yeah, sure. They were doing their own thing. They were going their own way without giving a damn of what the people around them were saying. So basically,
it's been great. Every album was getting better and better. And so I love them. I love that I feel their friendship in their music. I can feel their relationship in their music. I felt so bad when they broke up because they're still making amazing records.
yeah.
Basically, Kim Gordon broke up with the guy. I forgot his name.
Thurston Moore.
There's some more, okay. But Bruno, please play Schizophrenia so we have the time to play some more James Bisley songs. Start it on the radio and then we go back to James. Come on. Speed it up.
I think they're really great and also recognizable throughout there's a common line, a sort of trade union, something that connect all the records they've done, also the last ones, because I know the trilogy and all the album after they signed with a major, which was the Geffen with I think it was Goo, the first record after Daydream Nation, right? And then they got also great albums, and also the last ones. I don't remember the one. It was called something like Nurse, Sonic Nurse.
Sonic Nurse. I love that album.
That was great. That was great, and it was a mature record. It was something like the 20th of the Sonics, and still so good. I mean, that was really great.
Kim Gordon has a song that breaks my heart on that album.
Yeah.
Like, he can really, they were really not afraid to do anything.
Yeah, sure. Anyway, it's a pity that this history has ended, but we've got a lot of records behind, to listen to, and but the trilogy is what is Evil, Sister, and Daydream Nation, or Evil, Sister, and what?
Evil is the first one.
Okay, Evil, Sister, and then Daydream Nation. Right. Okay.
Evil. Excuse me. Evil is love written backwards. Yeah, because it's evil.
We know.
Yeah. It took me 20 years to check this out. James, now Sonic Youth are playing. The next song of yours, we're going to play is Radio Grave. At the sound check, I told you, I heard at the beginning some sequences like New Order, The Movement, the first record they did, and Dreams Never End. Just for a little bit part, I think about New Order. So the electronics are very much present in the song, and I like it a lot, and we will take it. Why Radio Grave? We are on a radio. We are pretty old, we too, and a grave is something we.
Yeah, well, this song was, in the last few years, we lost so many amazing rock and rollers, and people, it really hit me hard losing David Bowie and Tom Petty and just Little Richard,
Chris Cornell,
and then the list just goes on and on. So you know, to me, I was feeling like this would be like, you know, on the radio, your spirit, you know, like my soul belongs to the wind now means, you know, I'm in the air now. So like it's like becoming eternal as long as I'm being played, as long as it's being played, their spirit is everywhere and can still affect people beautifully and inspire people. And that's like an amazing thing. I think it's important to be conscious of when we lose people like this, you know, is that like their legacy like means so much and it can continue to grow, and thanks to people like you who support them and play their music. You know?
Okay, now we have the great finale and then we go back to the radio, right? And there was Schizophrenia of Sonic Youth. That was really a great, great song of this great album called Sister, which is the first or the second of the trilogy. It's the second, right? It's the second of the trilogy. Okay.
The fourth album.
Okay. So now we go back to you, because you are the guest of this show tonight, and we want to listen to your tunes because they're all great. And what is the next one? And tell us a little bit about it.
Okay. So we're gonna play Radio Grave. This time it's the last song on the album, and it was a song that like it was the last song I recorded for the album. But I was feeling kind of you know, hit like a lot of us have been by all the, you know, a lot of my heroes like been passing away in the last, you know, few years. You know. David Bowie, Chris Cornell, Little Richard, Tom Petty, you know, just like Prince, all these people. And I wanted to do something that was kind of a tribute. And, you know, writing it kind of just reminded me that, like, you know, their influence, you know, there's amazing things that, like, I love, that, like, energy, that, like, love that I feel when I hear their music can continue to go on, you know, when amazing people like you play their music, and new people can discover them, and the future can discover them.
Come on, Bruno. Excuse me, James. We have a little time. Go with this fucking tastic song now, Bruno. Come on. We want to listen to it completely. Go on now.
To the thunder, every step I take, hard waves are crashing under, I obliterate, hot wires, electric shadows resurrect my brain, still will the rust from my heart now, digital channels change. In the way of my little grave, that goes the grave of my little grave. Shouting at the silence in the sea of gold, broken hearts and started fires hijack the signal flow. Watch you spiral down around me, rolling overboard. But my soul belongs to the wind now. You my static tone, sing away. Oh my little gray, black rose decay. Oh my little gray, my little gray. Oh my little gray, black rose decay. Oh my little gray. I fall into the thunder every step I take. Hard waves are crashing under, I obliterate. Hot wires, electric shadows resurrect my brain. Still roll the rust from my heart now. Teacher channels change in the way. On my little gray, black rose decay. On my little gray, my little gray. On my little gray, black rose decay. On my little gray.
And that was Radio Grave of James Beasley. Really a great, great tune. I have to agree with Marco. There was a blend of New Order in that song. I love the texture on the chorus, the texture of the guitar on the chorus. I have to say, you've done a really great job in the mixing this, because the sound is really deep. It reminds me the production of the mixing attitude of Alan Moulder, you know, the famous producer of The Killers, of Curve, and some other bands, Smashing Pumpkins as well. So you've done really a great job in the production. Really, congratulations, James. Really, I can't wait to have your vinyl here in my room.
Yeah.
Do it.
Okay. It's coming. Yeah, I always my favorite production records were, probably from the late 80s, early 90s. So I noticed, a lot of times now people are producing and mastering more for, to have things, kind of just louder and with more edge, on them, so they'll sound better on people's phones and stuff. But I didn't want to do that. I wanted to make an album that sounds like the albums that I like, I wanted. So I used a lot of analog equipment and, mic techniques in order to get the right sound, and try to stay as minimal as I could with the effects plugins and tricks. And I also played everything from beginning to end. And if I messed up, I went to the beginning and started over again, because I wanted to have a performance
without punching in, without punch-ins. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't think there's any punch-ins. There might be one or two where I would like cheated, but for the most part, because those are the records I like to hear.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. I told you, Bruno. I have a guest. It's great. Who I don't never heard about him. You will hear about him. Yeah, it was really a cool evening with you. For you, a cool day. You start your day. It's midday where you're living now. It's dark here. Bruno, how many minutes do we have to go now?
We have 4 more minutes. I have one last question for you, James. How much time have you taken for recording the album entirely? I mean, is it something of 3 months, of 6 months, or a year? How much time?
Well,
from the beginning at the very end, so at the release.
I do it the same way I did when I was a kid with 4-track. I like to be away from the studio, and usually the songs just come to me when I don't have instruments around me. Like I'll just get it in my head and I'll just play around with them, and then write them down. And if I have my phone, I'll just record something. But I do a lot of my writing outside of the studio, and then once I have the chords down, then I try to get all the parts and the arrangements down before I even get to the computer, and in that aspect. So they're written kind of like old school songs. A lot of people nowadays will go to the computer first and make a beat and build things up like that. But I don't do that. That would take me a long time. So this way it's actually faster, because when I get to the recording, I want to still feel the excitement of the songs, the energy of the songs, and record them as quickly as possible to get that energy through the song. And I can hear it. I don't know if other people, but like for me, I can hear it.
It was quite evident, I have to say. Marco, the last question from you, and then we finish this broadcast.
I don't have any questions anymore. I beg your pardon. Bruno tried to fuck it up completely after a week of work, but he didn't succeed in doing so. Normally, I'm the one who fucks up everything. This time it was him. Thanks a lot, giving us your time. It was a rush. It was crazy. I had beautiful things, and we will promote your record here as much as possible. And just really thank you, James.
I am so proud and honored, Bruno and Marco. Thank you so much. This is great. I had a great time. Anytime, I hope you'll have me back sometime in the future.
Yeah, let's hope so. And let us know when the vinyl will be released, okay?
Okay.
And by the way, also the second record, the second album, because that's also when is the forecast for the release of the second album?
I've got a dozen or so demo tracks that are I'm working around with now. So I'm just gonna start recording, and it should be, I don't know, I'm hoping to get it out by summer.
Oh, great. Soon. Okay.
Yeah. So let you know about that.
Let us know. Okay, so thank you very much for everybody who has listened to us on the radio and watched us on the YouTube channel. And we will be back next week. And thank you again, James, for being with us. It was really a great pleasure and a privilege to have you here. And thank you, everybody. Mark.
Bruno, wait. Just keep on playing the last song, Euphoria Blues. I mean, they will cut it on the radio in a half, but play Euphoria Blues, please. And then the radio people will fade it out, but it's not our problem. Come on. Yeah. This is really dreamy. I like it.
Listen, this background is like a slow dive. Really, it's like slow dive. I hear slow dive here in the background.
But you made something new. You're really original. I can recognize. I've been playing guitar myself. I've been listening to music 30 years now. You made something original, also, which works on its own ways. Really cool.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I'm hoping on the next album. I'm working towards creating albums that have their own little universe. For this album, I think I was more like I just wanted to try to prove to myself that I could write a cohesive album of songs. But I'm gonna be more adventurous on the next one, and I'm gonna try and expand the sounds that I use and some of the experiments that I use, and we'll see how it goes. But I'm pretty excited. I got some good song ideas that I think you guys will like, and I hope I can pull it off.
Okay. Thank you so much. So we have to end the broadcast now. Stay there. Don't go away. Don't go away. Okay. Bye-bye, everybody.